Garrett Blevins here with an overview of 10 weeks out and a little bit of week 9 out as well. I wanted to put a comparison in here for this workout. You see here some of the best deadlifting I've had of the cycle. Was really pleased with how 675 moved this day. And I mean, it was just a really good day. I've been getting into a little bit better positions lately with deadlift, but definitely taxing. That set actually impacted the next week, which I just finished up. And so definitely going to have to take it a little easy on deadlifts probably next week just because that really accumulates fatigue quickly for me. I ended up getting all off because of the holidays, and so I had my deadlift workout that you just saw, and that was the top set from that. But then I went right into squats after that because I didn't want to miss my squat day. But I kind of waited to see how I felt with deadlift day before doing the squats. So you see here 615 moved pretty well. I was happy with that. And then had a really good set here with 645. And this is a set of 4. I've never done a set of 4 with this before at all, or really anything even close to this. So I'm definitely starting to handle heavier weights better. The work with the safety squat bar in the off season, even though it was with pretty submaximal weights, has really helped me out. I've noticed though that I'm having some knee valgus issues, so I really need to work on some hip and glute activation um, because it's just starting to impact my squat more than I would like. It was especially present on this day. Part of that was due to having just deadlifted a near maximal set before this, but I was still happy with how they moved, everything considered. Then moved into bench press, which was actually some shoulder pain earlier in the week was one of the reasons why I got so off with the holidays and everything, but had also had some graveyard shifts and some other stuff going on, so in any case, this set moved okay. I mean, I would have liked it to move better, but as far as triples go, it moved okay, and I was happy with it. Came back the next week. This is my last warm-up, and it's kind of funny to think of 635 now as one of my warm-up weights, but that's what it's become, and I'm happy with that. You got to break some of those mental barriers. 635 used to be like a really big deal, but as you can see there, not even registering probably on the RPE scale. Um, was feeling a little bit beat up on this day just because of the heavy training that I've been doing, the heavy rep work. I'm going to be moving into singles, but I'll probably take a light singles week coming up. As I've mentioned, I'm just a little bit more fatigued than I would like. But 660 here moved really well. I get a little bit of that same knee valgus, but less this day than on the other one. And basically, I think that's attributable to the fact that I hadn't deadlifted before. I did this set of 660. But squatting this heavy now is taxing my back, so I have to pay attention to that for my deadlift day. I put in here a squat comparison as well. It's the first 3 reps of the last 2 weeks squats. You'll notice that the bar speeds are almost identical. I was descending a little bit more conservatively with the 660, but basically they were the same set, except I did an extra rep on the week before. So thought I'd put that in there just for reference. Now, moving on, 1 John chapter 2, verse 3. We know that we have come to know him if we keep his commands. And, you know, a lot of people want to ask the question, you know, well, how do I know if I'm going to heaven? Or how do I know if I'm saved? Or those sorts of questions. And, hey, those are important questions. I think a lot of people worry about the afterlife. They think, you know, what is there after this? Or are we really just a kind of random conglomeration of molecules that have worked themselves into a complex organism? Or were we designed with a purpose? Were we created? Well, for those of us who believe we were created, we also believe that there's a life after death. And we wonder a lot of times what that's going to be like. For Christians, if you're not a believer, if you're not a follower of Christ, then you don't participate in heaven. And heaven should be understood in those terms as fellowship with God. But what John says here is that we know we have come to know him if we keep his commands. Whoever says, I know him, but does not do what he commands is a liar, and the truth is not in that person. But if anyone obeys his word, love for God is truly made complete in them. This is how we know we are in him. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. And John is so simple in his language. You look at the words here, there's no complex words here. I think the biggest word here is the word commands. I mean, this is not complicated language, but I can't imagine a tougher teaching. And John has just finished saying that this doesn't mean sinless perfection. Living just as Jesus did doesn't mean that we're earning our own salvation. He's just made the point that it is, in fact, Jesus who has given the atoning sacrifice for our sins. That Jesus is the one who removes any works from the saving aspect. But to take advantage of that, to take advantage of this ability to be on God's side, to obey God's commands, this is a choice that's given to people. It's a spirit-enabled choice, but it's a choice that is given to people. Are you going to obey or are you going to disobey? And that's been really a sticking point for Christians for hundreds of years, ever since the Protestant Reformation, where people wrapped up the idea that it's how good you are and how many good works you have that earns your way into heaven, instead of understanding that this is an allegiance question. The question isn't, are you earning your way in? The question is, who is your master? Who's the one you're in fellowship with? Who do you serve? Who is your father? And the way that you know that, if you want to know that you're saved, if you want to know that you're a Christian, then you will live as Jesus lived. And how is that? Well, it's very simple. It means that you consider the needs of others before your own needs. And that is a tremendously difficult thing to do. It's a lifelong learning process, but that is what it means to live as Jesus did. And we do that because that's what God commands. To obey God is to love God, and to obey God is to follow His commands. And what God has commanded is that we should love one another. And that means considering the needs of others before our own. That's what Jesus was all about, and that's what Christians should be all about. And anytime you see a Christian who's not living that way, they're just a Christian in name. That's what they're calling themselves. But the only way you know for real, for sure, that somebody is a Christian is when they live in just the way that Jesus did. So that's a tough teaching from John, but it is an important teaching, and one that I think many people need to internalize, myself included. It is a challenge, but something that I am working towards by the strength and the will of God. In any case, I hope wherever you're at, you're doing well. Blessings.